Hey everyone, my name is Louis and I'm a Customer Success Associate here at Xano. And today I'm going to show you how you can store the result of an external API request to your Xano database, with that being data or images. And the first thing that we need to do is to set up your external API call. And then you're going to add this API request function that you can find here under APIs and Lambdas, external API requests. And you need to populate these inputs with the URL information, parameters, and headers. And this information is typically found in the documentation from the API provider. And for this example, I'm calling this API that's returning information about food. And here in the documentation, I can find the URL, the headers, and the query parameters. The parameter input is an object, so I need to apply the set filter to define the key value pairs to be sent over. And the header is an array, so I need to be pushing these values to the end of the array. So let's go ahead and make the call to see what it looks like. So I'm using cheese as an example, and what we get as a return is a request and then response. And the data that we want is here nested under response, result, results, and that is a list that we want. So the next step is to update this variable. So I'm going to here data manipulation, update variable. I'm going to access that path inside this API call. So I'm assigning the API underscore call, this return of this external API requests, dot response, dot result, dot results, which I showed before. That is where the results that we want are nested. So let's run this now. We see that now we have the data structure that we want that is ready to be looped through. So the next step is to set our for each loop. And I'm going to loop through this API call list, that is this list over here. And each item of the list is going to be called item. So let's see what's returning from this variable item is each individual object here. And they're going to be storing the title and the image to our database. But the image, first I need to upload to our storage and to create metadata that's going to be stored in the table. And for that, I'm using this create image metadata function under file storage, create image metadata. And the value here is going to be item.image, this value over here. And after that, I'm going to be adding the record. The title field is going to be item.title, this value over here. And the value for images is going to be the return of this create image metadata variable, file metadata here. So let's go ahead and run. So let's look at our table. So if we refresh, and then we get the title and the images, pretty straightforward. And now I'm going to be getting this data from Bubble. I have here a table with the information about the cities in the US. There are 30,844 entries. So Bubble only sends 100 records per API call. So I need to create a loop to make several API calls and bring this data to be able to bring all this data to our Xano database. So let me show you how you can do that. So this API call to Bubble, we need to send the URL. The parameters, you need to see the cursor because Bubble uses cursor-based pagination. And the value here is going to be 0. It's going to be returning the first item in the database. And I need to send the authorization bearer and the token that Bubble provides to us that you can find there under the general tab. So let's see. Let's make this one call. And as usual, we get the request and the response. And this is what we have. The cursor, the remaining, this is very important for us. And then you have 100 results. So let's start building our function stack. The first step is to create a variable that's going to be housing the cursor, the value of the cursor. I'm assigning here as 0 to start because it's the first record in the database. And the next variable will be called remaining because I'm going to be updating with the result of the API call. And I'm assigning a value here of 1, but you can assign any value higher than 0. because I'm going to use this variable as the condition to our loop. So I'm going to use a while loop. So you can come here, data manipulation, loops, while loop. That's going to iterate while a condition is true. So I'm going to be calling as long as the remaining variable is higher than 0. So I'm going to start with 1. We start the loop, but this variable is going to be updated throughout the loop. So we have this API request, but now the cursor is going to be dynamically assigned as this variable over here. And the remaining of this call is going to be stored in this variable here. So we have this API bubble call dot response dot result dot response dot remaining. And then we're going to add everything to our table using an add bulk records. Here, database requests, add multiple records in bulk. And the items here are going to be the bubble call, response result, response results. It looks complicated, but if you go ahead and run again, we see that you can copy here, come here to our add bulk records. You're going to be referencing this API call. You can come here, subpath. You can copy and define. You can go ahead and go straight to our results here. And what we need is this results. Okay, save. And then we're ready to store all of these records in the database. And there's an extra step. If you want to give your server a little room to breathe, you can use the sleep and for as long as you want. Here, it'll be like half a second, but you don't need that. It's optional. And in the end, updating this variable cursor, because bubble is going to always be returning 100 values. So I want this cursor that is going to start at 0. For the next iteration of the loop is going to be 100, then 200, and so on. And that's it. Since we have a higher number of records, 30,844, I set up this function stack in a task so you can schedule this task to run at a certain time. But for our task here, what I'm going to do is to bring 1,000 records to our database table. So let's start with 29,744, 844. So we're going to start with 0 to bring all the records from the table. But for this video, to be quick, bringing 1,000 records. So if we go ahead and run, let's check our table, refresh, and then you have 1,000 records, the cities, states, names, all the information that we brought from Bubble. So if you have any additional questions, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Xano channel. Also check our awesome community, and you can reach out to us via live support chat within the platform. And I'll see you in the next video.